Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a 3 looks 1 palette using the Pat McGrath Moonlit Seduction palette, also known as the Mothership 10 palette. I have tried my best to come up with 3 very different looks using this palette to demonstrate the versatility and the different kinds of looks that you can get. So if you are interested in seeing how I created this and 2 other looks using this palette, just keep on watching. Hi, okay, let's get into the first look. So the last time I used this palette was actually a trying new makeup video in January. And in that look, I went really taupey, silvery, and smoky. So I kind of want to do something different today. I think I'm going to maybe try and do gold. So I've done like the cool toned metallic smoky eye, and today maybe I'll try to do the warm toned version of that. So I'm going to start with the shade Rosewood Romantique through my crease again. This is the closest thing to a transition shade that we have in this palette. Also, I primed my lids using my Bobbi Brown Longwear Cream Shadow Stick in the shade Bone and set that down with a bone-colored eyeshadow out of my Vive Modern Essentials palette. And that's really how I've been priming my eyes for every eye look lately because my skin is so dry, but my eyelids for some reason aren't. They're not as dry, and my eyeshadow has been creasing a bit more than normal. And I find that this combo really works well to prevent that. That shade does have a bit of like mauve or purple to it, so I'm trying to just keep it a sheer wash of color because I don't want the whole look to turn too purpley for this one. I find Pat McGrath's mattes to be really very dry, which I like. I actually like working with a drier or more powdery shadow. Kind of like if you've tried the Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes. I know a lot of people get frustrated with those because they kick up a lot of powder in the pan. This doesn't have that same amount of kick up, but it's a really similar texture that makes it super buildable. And it doesn't go on depositing a ton of pigment. You can kind of slowly build it up over time, which for me, I prefer because I feel like I make less mistakes that way, but just something to keep in mind depending on your eyeshadow preferences. Put a little bit of concealer under my eyes just to help with the dark circles, but I haven't set it yet because I just, in case there's any fallout or anything, I want to be able to go back and put some more concealer on before I set. So if it's creasing and it's bothering you, I'm sorry. It also bothers me when I see it back in the footage. Then I'm going to take a smaller brush and just start to deepen everything up with the shade Extreme Nocturne. So again, it's like you have one kind of main transition shade in this palette, and I think you also have one main deepening shade in this palette, which is fine because I think the colors work with all of the other shades, but for a 3 looks 1 palette video, I feel like it might get a little bit repetitive. But I'm just starting to deepen at the lash line and then blend up into my crease slightly. I think this was the shade that I had a little bit of trouble with last time too, because I'm already seeing that it wants to be patchy again. So I think this was the shade that gave me trouble. I can't quite remember, but I remember there was one that was kind of patchy in the last video I did with this palette, and it must have been this one. So I'm not sure how well you can see that. It's not too bad or anything, and we are going to be covering this up with shimmer, so I'm not like worried about it, but I think it's good to be informed, especially for the price that you're paying for this palette, that some of the shades, well, only one of the shades so far, could potentially give you a little trouble. I'm going to go back in with that first transition shade, Rosewood Romantique, and just blend this outer corner. And I'm just going to blend over that deeper shade to make all of this really seamless. I'm then going in with the shade Bronze Devotion, and I'm just taking this on my finger because I just feel like Pat McGrath shimmers really perform best on the finger. I know you're supposed to be able to use them on a brush or whatever, but I find that for the payoff that I'm looking for anyway, I just like the way it looks with my finger. So I'm just gonna go in. I mean, you can see that right away. The payoff is really very good with these metallic shades when applied with your finger. Match up that other side. And while I'm here placing these shimmers down, I'm actually going to go in with my inner corner shade using my pinky finger, and this one is called Skin Tense Glow. I feel like just going ahead and putting this on the inner corner so that I can kind of blend it into that bronzy shade, and then blend everything together with my brush. That's just a really pretty kind of icy champagne with a little bit of pink in it, I think. That just makes for a stunning inner corner shade. So going back in with my fluffy brush that I used for the transition shade to just blend everything out. And then back in with my smaller brush to just touch up that deeper gray color and make sure that I haven't lost any of that smokiness and definition. I'm not even really having to put any more product on my brush. I'm just kind of going over with whatever's left and touching it up. So hopefully you can see on my lid that shade Bronze Devotion performs like a pretty standard metallic shade. I mean, it is really beautiful, but it's not sparkly. Like, it doesn't have a whole lot of shine to it. I think if I went back over and maybe applied a little bit more, we could see how it builds. But even then, I mean, it's not like a wet look shadow. It's stunningly pretty as a metallic, but I think layering one of those special shades over the top will really take it to the next level. So again, not like a bad thing that it's not a super like sparkly or wet look metallic or anything, but just something to be aware of in the palette. I mean, you have all these special shades that you can play with if you want to add some more sparkle. Maybe this is actually a good option to have if you are using this palette more on like an everyday basis and you just want like a standard shimmer to wear all over the lid for work or, you know, whatever you're doing in your everyday life. But I thought I would just point that out. So here is how things are looking. I'm gonna go ahead and do my lower lash line. So I'm just gonna basically repeat what I did on the top lash line. I'm gonna go in with the transition shade Rosewood Romantique all along my lower lash line, about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way toward the inner corner. Okay, and then back into that deeper gray shade, Extreme Nocturne. I'm going to keep that close to the lash line and further out toward the outer corner. And kind of just meeting up with this little wing that we've created out here. And then just to add a little bit more of that wow factor and some shimmer and shine, I'm going to take the shade Astral Gold Lust on my finger. This is kind of like a piecier, more textured gold shimmer. Again, it feels very dry, but it's stunning. I think you can see from just how it looks on my finger that it really bounces the light and catches the light in a super pretty way. And I'm just gonna tap this all over my lid, but focusing primarily on the center. And there is that gold and glimmer and shimmer that I think we were all waiting for. And it really amps up that bronze metallic shade and makes it look like a wet look shadow, or more of like a molten gold kind of effect. So I am gonna go clean up my concealer. I'm gonna do some mascara and pick out a lip, and then I will be back to give you my final thoughts. Okay, I am back and this is the finished look. Please don't mind my hair. I'm about 2 seconds from just putting it into a ponytail. But I did mascara, and then on my lips, I am wearing my MAC Whirl lip liner. Who was surprised? No one. My MAC Modesty lipstick, and then the Michaela and Glamlight collab gloss, the one with the gold sparkles, because I thought it would kind of tie in with the gold sparkles on the eyes. I think the look came out really pretty. I think it's definitely something you could deepen up a little bit, make a little bit smokier, throw some black eyeliner in the waterline, and this would be a perfect like going out or event look. For me, I feel like this is a nice level of smokiness for every day, and I like that there are some more everyday options in this palette. It's actually like honestly kind of like a perfect everyday palette if you like neutral looks, but you just like a little bit of something extra, whether it's like a hint of purple or some glitz and glamour with the shimmer on the lids. Here is a close-up of the look. And let's get on to look number 2. Okay, hi, we are back for look number 2. And I think I want to do something even more dramatic than the first look. I think I'm going to go full purple. I want to use this bluey, purpley, shifty shade VR Sextasy on the lid. So I think maybe the thing to do would be a halo eye. Let's try it. I'm going to zoom you in. Same eye priming situation as last time. I used my Bobbi Brown Longwear Cream Shadow Stick in Bone and then set on top of it with a just matte bone colored eyeshadow. So I'm going to go in with Rosewood Romantique. Again, it's that same shade I used in the first look. That's, as I said last time, really the only transition shade in here. So I'm just going to put that lightly through the crease. And then with a slightly smaller but still fluffy brush, I'm going to take the shade Plum Cabaret, and I'm going to start building up the inner and outer corner to get our halo shape going. I have to say there's not too much of a huge shade difference between the two purpley mauvey mattes, Rosewood Romantique and Plum Cabaret. I mean, they're different. Plum Cabaret definitely has more purple to it, but they're very, very close. And I know a lot of people's like critique about this palette was the choice of matte shades, not having like a lighter, more neutral brown. I do agree to an extent. I think obviously if there was a lighter, more neutral brown in the palette, I would use it. Those are the kinds of shades I use literally every time I do my eyeshadow. But it just doesn't really bother me that there's not one in here for some reason. I guess because when I shear out that first shade I used, Rosewood Romantique, it basically achieves the same thing. Like it's doing the same thing, even though I'm just having to be a little bit light-handed with it. So that just doesn't bother me too much. I totally understand the critique, and yeah, I mean, it would be great, but also it's not like a make or break, I guess, for me. I'm gonna take this on the inner corner. And you'll notice I'm using still like quite a fluffy brush and still going slowly with the pigment. Especially for halo eyes, I just feel like I always want to have as much control as possible. But the good thing about these mattes is that they build up on themselves really well. I guess I'm talking about the dryness of the shade so much because the other kind of eyeshadow competitor in this price bracket is Natasha Denona, who is known for really highly saturated pigmented shades that are almost like creams when you apply them. And Obviously, there's a time and a place for that, and I think a lot of people like that. They like that immediate payoff, but I guess maybe because I learned to do eyeshadow with a drier formula, I feel more comfortable with a drier formula like this. I do have my fair share of Natasha Denona. It's just a different experience, and it requires a little bit of different technique from me, I think, than something like the Pat McGrath. I'm just going to take a little bit of that shade up and over to bridge that halo. And then I'm going to go in with a smaller and denser brush and see how I can build this shade closer to the lash line. I'd like to see if I can build it up quite a bit without dipping into the gray shade first. The dark gray shade that's been giving me a little bit of trouble. So just kind of keeping that closer to the lash line and then blending up. I think that's building really well, actually. Slowly but surely trying to get more confident with the halo shape. But it is definitely not as natural to me as the kind of gradient from light to dark outer corner kind of a look. But we're working on it. Okay, I'm gonna blend that a little bit. I feel like this outer edge needs to be a little sharper. So I'm just gonna try and place a little bit more on this outer corner here. Blend in. Really, I still like that defined outer corner even in my halo eyes. I just like what it does for my eye shape to have that extra definition. Okay, and then I'm going to go back into a little bit of Rosewood Romantique and just blend those edges again so that everything is looking soft and romantic. Now for the fun part, I'm going to go into that blue shimmer shade VR Sextasy, which is just really, honestly, probably one of the most stunning eyeshadows in my entire collection. It has that really cool blue to purple to brown. It has kind of like a warm base. And I'm going to apply this on that center part of my lid. And you can probably see I'm getting a little bit of fallout from this shade. So, also good to know. So if you wanted to use some of these special shades, maybe do your base first. I mean, what? Don't do your base first. Do your eyes first. I'm just gonna try to sweep that away a little bit with my brush. I don't have concealer on under my eyes yet, so not a huge deal, but it did kind of go down onto my cheeks. But honestly, worth it. I mean, what a gorgeous show-stopping shade. Like, it makes the glitter on my cheeks totally worth it. Okay, and then I'm just gonna go in with my brush that I was using on the inner and outer corner and just kind of re-intensify that depth. And just make sure I still have some definition through the crease. Just blending one more time. My big fluffy brush. That is looking pretty stunning. So let me go put some concealer and powder on my under eyes, and then I'll come back and do the lower lash line and the inner corner with you, and then we will finish up this look. For the lower lash line, I'm going to take the purple shade Plum Cabaret, and I'm going to put that on the inner and outer, and kind of just mirror what we did on the top lash line. My stomach is growling and I need to eat dinner. But eyeshadow has to come first. For the inner corner, I'm going to use one of the special shades. I'm going to try to use Astral Lilac Aura as an inner corner shade. And I don't know how this will work because these are a little bit more like piecey, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to get it to show up in the way that I would like, but I really want to just try it. So I'm taking a small brush and I'm going to put some of the, like pick up some of it on my brush and then spray my brush to see if I can get some of that glitter kind of contained and make it a little bit more saturated. So I'm just going right in the inner corner with this. You can see how kind of piecey it is, but I think it looks really cool. And that shade definitely has a little bit of a purple shift to it, so it actually works really well with the shades that I've used. Do the same for the other eye. Wow. That looks so good as an inner corner shade. Definitely seeing the purple though, and where it's layered over that purple matte shade, you can really see the purple coming through. And then same brush, but I'm gonna dip into VR Sextasy this time and spray my brush and put that in the center on the lower lash line. I love it. I love shimmer on the lower lash line where it catches the light and it looks almost like a little tear. I don't know why. I just think it looks really cool. Okay, so here is where we are with the eye look. I am gonna go add some mascara and a lip, and I will be back to show you the final look. Okay, I'm back. I ended up just doing the exact same lip combo as last time for the sake of keeping things simple. But I thought this look might be kind of cute with some eyeliner in the waterline. So I grabbed out two purple eyeliners. I have the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencil in the shade Alkaline and the ColourPop Cream Gel Liner in the shade Amethyst Hour. And I felt like I might just play around with putting a little bit of that in the waterline. Let me zoom you back in so you can see. Not that the look really needs it, but I feel like, I don't know. I just want to. I just want to. I just want to. So I'm going to do this darker one on the outside and the inside of my waterline. And then I'll put the brighter one in the middle to just further exaggerate that halo shape. Putting this lighter one in the middle here. I don't even know if you can see that. It's kind of subtle, but I feel like it complements the look pretty well. And this is the final look. I have to say, I really love it. I love purple eyeshadow, so there's also a part of me that just wants to take that inner corner shade and put it all over the lid with the purple matte in the crease and have that be my third look, but I'm going to try to stretch the palette a little bit and see what else I can come up with. But do know that the purples in the palette are really speaking to my heart. Purple is practically a neutral for me in my eyes. I think because I have brown eyes, I feel like it's just like in my everyday color palette. Do you know what I'm saying? But yes, this is look 2 all finished, and I'm going to now pass you on to future Sarah and look number 3. Okay, we are back and ready for look number 3. I've been trying to think about what I want to do because I want to do something a little bit different. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but I think I'm just going to try it and we're going to see how it goes. So I'm going to start with the shade Rosewood Romantique in the crease. Oops, I need to zoom you in. Hold on. Zoomed you in so you can actually see what I'm doing. I'm going to start with that same shade Rosewood Romantique through the crease, which is the same thing I've done, I think, for all the looks. And just warm up that crease slightly. And then I was thinking I might do like a really classic kind of a smoked out shadow liner with a shimmery lid. Kind of similar to the look I did when I recreated Julia Adams's makeup on my Instagram. I'm not sure if you saw that one, but I also posted it as a YouTube short on my channel. But I just thought that was such a classic, like, pretty look. And I feel like this palette would work really well for that kind of a vibe and just like a slightly different take on it. Okay, our transition shade is on. So I'm not going to take the deepest matte in the palette, this one called Extreme Nocturne, and I'm going to take it on an angled brush. This is a mini version of the MAC 560 SE brush, if anyone's interested, but it's just your typical kind of angled liner brush. And I'm going to start to sketch out a wing. I'm trying to kind of match them up, but it doesn't matter if they're identical because we're going to kind of smudge all this out anyway. And then with that same brush, I'm going to fill that in and also kind of connect it to the center of my lid. I've definitely made this wing too thick, so I'm going to take my makeup wipe and just sharpen that up slightly. And we can go back in with concealer at the end. But again, it's not a huge deal if they don't perfectly match, because the next thing I'm going to do is go in with a small kind of smudger brush. This is a Spectrum and KJH 21 brush. And I'm just going to dip into that same shade and start to diffuse the edges. So I'm kind of keeping the outer line strong, but just blending up and in from there to create kind of like a hazy, smoky effect. Okay, and when I'm feeling like that's looking a little bit more diffused, I'm going to take the same brush and a little bit of Rosewood Romantique to even further blend and diffuse. Just going to take my blending brush and blend those edges again. And before I clean up the outer corner with concealer, I'm actually going to connect it up on the bottom. So going back into Extreme Nocturne on my angled brush. So taking that really close to the lash line on my outer corner here and connecting it. I'm just going about halfway over with that. And then back in with my smudger brush and more of that shade Rosewood Romantique to blend the edges of that and blend a little further in toward the inner corner. Okay, and then I'm going to take a flat brush and a little bit of concealer, and I'm just gonna crisp up this outside edge slightly. And then we have a nice smoky wing situation. So now I'm going to pick out a shimmer for the lid. I don't think I've used Blitz Venus yet, so I'm going to take that one on my finger. This is like a really beautiful champagne. I'm just going to tap this, starting from the inner corner and then moving out toward the liner. It just looks very refined and sophisticated, like the sparkle of it reminds me of red carpet makeup. It's nothing too chunky or glitzy, but it's still really beautiful and dramatic. And then we got a little fallout, nothing major, but I'm just going to try to swipe it away with my foundation brush. And then I will go into the shade Skin Tense Glow again for my inner corner. I'm just going to take my pinky for this and kind of meet it up with the other shimmer. And then just for a little extra something, I'm going to go back in with my angled brush and that deepest shade, Extreme Nocturne. I'm just going to put that right in here, kind of to tightline in that little area to help my eyes look more upturned and a little bit more feline. This is a tip I also learned from Julia Adams when I recreated that makeup look. So it's just a little bit, it's nothing major, but I think even though it's subtle, it makes a difference to how the eye looks, and I don't know, I think it's just kind of cool. So let me go do mascara and pick out a lip, and then I will be back to show you the final look and also finish up this 3 looks 1 palette using the Pat McGrath Moonlight Seduction palette. Okay, so here is the look all completed. I decided to go with a reddish kind of a lip because I felt like the look just really lended itself well to that classic kind of Hollywood glamour vibe. Even though I'm wearing what is essentially my pajama shirt, I'm feeling very glamorous. So I put on the Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat in Pillow Talk 2 Medium and the Charlotte Tilbury lipstick in Viva La Vergara. And I really like the way that this look came out. I know it's a little bit more subtle and refined than the other looks, but I feel like it shows off the versatility of the palette. And also, we've seen a lot of looks from this palette now, and I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I hope you enjoyed seeing the 3 looks that I came up with using this palette. Let me know in the comments which one was your favorite. If you have this palette, I would also love to know if you have a go-to look that you dip into whenever you pull the palette out. Overall, if you were thinking of getting this palette, I think you won't be disappointed, with the exception of the one deepest matte shade giving me a little bit of trouble with the blending. Everything else is stunning, particularly the shimmers and of course the special shades. But the other 2 mattes are also really nice and go on really smoothly and blend easily and all of that. I think also if you are a neutral lover but you like to spice it up from time to time, that this might be a really good palette for you because it does go quite neutral. I mean, you can do a taupey silver kind of a look or a bronzy gold kind of a look. You can do a champagne kind of vibe like I've done on the eyes with this look. Or you can take it to the purples and the blues and make something really smoky and dramatic too. So I'm really happy that this palette has made its way into my collection and I'm having a lot of fun playing with it. I still think there are a lot of looks that I want to try, especially using this one special shade on the end here, the Astral Lilac Aura. That one has my heart. There's something so beautiful about the purple shift that it has, and I can't wait to play with it more. If there are any other palettes that you would like to see 3 looks using, let me know, because this was kind of a fun challenge to myself to pull out a palette and try and make 3 very different, unique standalone looks, and I had a lot of fun with it. I hope you had fun watching it. Give the video a like if you liked it, and feel free to subscribe to see more videos from me. My next video should be up in the next few days, so until then, I will look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye!